we know that the discriminatory resolution is required for the formulations to show that the resolution method can detect the mismanufactured batches or bio-inequivalent batches. But there are some circumstances in which the discriminatory resolution is not mandatory and it is not required. I welcome all the viewers to this informative video on when discriminatory resolution is not required. So let's start the video with some general information. So consider the BCS classification of the API or drug substance and consider the release profile or percent drug dissolved from the formulation. BCS classification provides the understanding about the solubility and permeability. When the API is highly soluble, belonging to BCS class 1 or 3, and when the formulation shows very rapid release or rapid release, that time generally the discriminatory resolution is not required. So some situations are there when generally the discriminatory resolution is not mandatory or it is not required. So first is BCS BioAware, BCS class 1 and 3 drug substances formulated into immediate release formulations, and these can release the API within 15 minutes or 30 minutes above 85%, and the drug dissolution is similar in pH 1.2, 4.5 and 6.8. That means the drug is not having pH dependent solubility. Drug belongs to the BCS class 1 or 3 and the formulation is immediate release. So there is no requirement of the discriminatory resolution, or the discriminatory resolution is not considered as mandatory. Then compendial methods. So sometimes when the applicant uses or manufacturer uses the compendial methods from USP, PHUR or BP as such, and the formulation is not critical considering the bioequivalence, that time generally the QC method is accepted as a compendial method and discriminatory resolution is not mandatory. Then in the early development like preclinical or formulation screening stage, the discriminatory resolution is not mandatory. Then routine QC testing. So once the process is validated and once everything is finalized and the drug is approved, after that it will not be required that every time the discrimination is required to be shown. Non-predictive of in vivo performance. Sometimes some of the drugs are formulated in some of the formulations like MR drugs, and there is no predictive in vivo performance depending on to the dissolution testing. For some of the formulations, that time the discrimination is not required, but discrimination is required for the drug substances belonging to BCS class 2 and 4. It is must. Discrimination is required for ANDAs and marketing authorizations, also for the SUPAC level changes, IVIVC method development, and critical process and the formulation changes. So that time discrimination is required. BCS based BioAware. As we are aware about the BCS based BioAware, BCS based BioAware are given for the immediate release formulations containing BCS class 1 or 3 drug substances which are highly soluble. As per US FDA guideline, waiver of an in vivo bioavailability and B studies for IR formulations based on the BCS. When discriminatory dissolution is not required, so here is the answer for these questions. More than 85% dissolution in 15 minutes or 30 minutes in all the pH range like 1.2, 4.5 and 6.8. That time discrimination is not required. Non-discriminatory method, USP paddle basket you can use. No absorption impacting excipients. This is specific for the BCS class 3 drug substances. Similar dissolution profiles, test versus reference. If these are met, non-discriminatory dissolution is acceptable and in vivo B study can be waived because the criteria is itself complying to the requirements, and that's why only the waiver is given for the bioequivalent studies. So there is no requirement of the discrimination for the dissolution method development. BCS waiver as per EMA guideline, and also you can consider about the ICH guideline. So if more than 85% of the drug is released within 15 minutes in all the pH range 1.2, 4.5, 6.8, and the dissolution is very rapid, and similar profiles are there between the test and reference, that time there is no requirement for the discriminatory dissolution. For BCS class 3 drugs, excipient must match reference in type and quantity, that is Q1, Q2 is required. EMA does not require discriminatory dissolution if rapid release and excipient similarity are proven. So in summary you can say discriminatory dissolution is not required for the IR formulations containing BCS class 1 and 3, that is highly soluble drugs, and dissolution is rapid or very rapid, profiles are similar, and excipients formulation risks are controlled. Then you might be thinking that why the discriminatory dissolution is not required for this type of drugs and formulations. So first is rapid and complete dissolution leaves a little to discriminate. If the formulation shows more than 85% release within 15 minutes or 30 minutes, then it becomes difficult to make the meaningful changes and to show the discrimination, because the drug is rapidly dissolving, the formulation excipients are not holding the API because these are IR formulations. So if you do the meaningful changes, it will not reflect the impact into the dissolution, and if you want to show the impact, then you should go beyond certain ranges, and those ranges are not coming into the real life scenario, or these process parameter change or the level of those changes is not the real time scenario. If your formulation doesn't contain binder, if you are changing some level of excipient like diluent, disintegrant, for example, you can consider this, and if you add binder or more binder and then you decrease the release and show discrimination, that means it is no use. There is no use to show discrimination in these type of formulations. If the test formulation is IR formulation containing highly soluble drug substances like BCS1 and 3, showing rapid or very rapid dissolution and in line with the innovator or RLD or reference product, then doing meaningful changes will not reflect the change in the dissolution behavior, because these formulations dissolve very quickly and differences in formulation do not significantly affect the dissolution. So there is no need for the method to discriminate between the formulations. Itself, the specification can provide the justification or can give the confidence that the product will be bioequivalent. Then minimal risk of in vivo impact. BCS class 1 drug substances with rapid dissolution ensure drug is available for the absorption. BCS class 3 drugs, although the permeability low, but high solubility ensure that any variation in the formulation does not significantly alter the bioavailability if the excipient do not interfere. That means you are going to use the same excipients for BCS class 3 formulations. IR formulations will contain the same excipients. That means you are going to show the similarity Q1 and Q2. So there is no need to go for the discrimination in the dissolution. Then you might have come across this guideline, resolution testing acceptance criteria for IR formulation containing highly soluble drug substance. As per the US FDA guideline, if you use the standard dissolution conditions like USP method, USP apparatus 1 basket method, USP apparatus 2 paddle method, and stirring rate 100 rpm for basket, 500 ml of 0.1 normal SCl media, no surfactant. Similarly, paddle apparatus, stirring rate 50 rpm, media volume 500 ml, and you are using 0.1 normal SCl as a dissolution media, and the formulation contains BCS class 1 or 3 drug substance. Formulation is immediate release, and if you give specification like more than 85% release in 15 minutes or 30 minutes, then there is no need to show the discrimination. But it also depends on case by case basis. It is not like that the formulation is not releasing the drug, but still you are trying to not to show the discrimination. That time regulatory body will ask regarding the discrimination. It depends on the formulation, but generally for IR formulations it is not asked. As per EMA guideline also, here I have shown the guideline. For drug products containing BCS class 1 or 3 active substances with very high solubility over the physiological pH range and with rapid or very rapid dissolution, it may not always be possible to detect any differences in dissolution behavior after meaningful changes in relevant formulation material specification or and manufacturing parameters have been made. So in these cases, method may be considered to be adequate without further justification or be replaced by disintegration test. So this is the guideline from EMA, you can refer, and it clearly mentions that the finalized dissolution method can be considered as sufficient without showing the discrimination. Thank you for watching the video, and if you have any queries or if you have any questions, you can comment. You can mail me also. I will try to answer your questions. Thank you for watching the video.